Now that has really, really set the scene. And next up, I am delighted to moderate a panel where we will draw certainly on some of the details that Douglas has already pointed out to us. The panel is titled Authentic Travel Experiences. And I am going to ask my panel to talk to us all about how travel is really connecting, how the industry is connecting with travelers and making sure that they're making the right choices when they choose where to go and what to see and what to do when they are in these destinations of their choice. So, without any further ado, I'd like to invite 4 wonderful people to the stage, and they are Luke Elsinger, CEO of Tickets. Welcome, Luke. Take a seat, please. We've also got Sarah Dieners, who is VP of Viator. We've got Nicholas Martiquet of Amadeus. Please give him a warm hand. And last but not least, we've got Michael Nydegger, who is CEO of Switzerland Tourism. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to grab my water. Thank you very much. Well, that was Douglas. That's always a good start, isn't it, to the Tours and Activities track. Thank you very much for being here today. Now, when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, Luke, I'm going to quote Luke, he said, everything starts with experiences and ends with experiences, and then there's everything in between, which I think sort of sums up what this industry is very much all about. But maybe let's talk a little bit about some of the common misconceptions that people have about the tours and activities. And Nicholas, I think I want to come to your and sort of the Amadeus viewpoint on this first, and then we'll get the other guys involved as well.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicolas Martiquet. I'm leading Amadeus Discover. So we specialize on this tours and activities vertical. And I think the biggest misconception I see in our daily life can be summarized with one word, the word ancillary. Like every time I speak with a customer, or 90% of the time when I speak with a customer, a travel seller, an airline, a hotel chain, I actually speak with the head of ancillaries.
Okay.
If I come back to the definition of the word ancillary, it's something providing support to the primary activities of an organization. So if I go to Japan with my family, the organization being my family, what is the primary activity of my family? It's all the experiences I live there. What is supporting this primary activity? It's the flight, the hotel, and all the rest. So for the traveler, the primary purpose is the experiences. For the industry, the experiences are the ancillary. So I think the biggest misconception can be summarized with just that word, ancillary.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Sarah, let's go to you next. What are you picking up as misconceptions about the tours and activities sector?
Thanks, Charlotte. One of the things that I find interesting about this industry is that for the 7 years that I've been coming here, and part of it is that we talk consistently about the idea that tours and activities and experiences are the last part of travel to come online, and that we're 20 years behind hotels and flights and so on. And what's interesting about that is that underlying that statement is a belief that at some point the industry will be online. But when I talk to operators, and in my job I have the opportunity to talk to hundreds of operators, many of them don't want to grow. They're very happy with the business that they've created. They have a passion they want to share with the world, but they just want to make a living, enough to support their family, enough to support their employees. And so what that says to me is that there is an element of this market that will never be online, and that potentially it will be decades before the market is truly online, even though we, in this industry, I mean, other than the tour operators, there's a whole ecosystem here to support operators getting online. But yeah, I think it's going to take a lot longer than we think.
Yeah, I fully believe that as well. I think there is a natural move towards having certain things put online, you know, and actually move online. But there will always be that little je ne sais quoi, maybe the French say that, you know, that actually is staying offline. Luke, let's get your perspective on this misconception of what it's all about.
If you're the third one, I can only echo the previous speakers, but I think it's even bigger than that, right? We see that a lot of clients are now using our data to help customers decide on their destinations, right? So they use availability data on experience real time to kind of help also as a sense of urgency element, book now your destination because these attractions, these tours are now available. So it really starts, it feeds the middle, and it also ends with experience. But I think it's even more, it's even the glue between two different trips, right? The things you do in weekends, the things you do, you know, when you go to a museum, you get inspired by that. You say, oh man, I want to see more Van Goghs. Let's go to other places as well. So I think experiences is much larger as an industry than what we talk about here, the attach rate or something on a trip. It's also what you do in weekends and in small trips.
That's actually a very, very good point. So it's all around us all the time, really. Martin, let's go to you as well. I don't know, on the data side that Luke brought in, you know, are you seeing things very much backed up by data and in terms of how people come to Switzerland and what they do there and what they hope for and maybe what are the misconceptions just by going to your destination?
Well, obviously, the majority of the attraction lies in the availability of the information. Me, as a destination representative, I wouldn't really make that big distinction between destination or experience. I think it's not either or. It's very much relevant that they both play together. Because I'm sure there are absolutely brands where probably the brand of a city or of a strong resort overshadows the experiences, and there's others, skiing in Switzerland, for example, where it doesn't really matter where you go, you just want to have this experience. And of course, the availability of the information is absolutely key on that, starting first with the availability of the inventory, the tourism inventory, and then obviously also of the demand and the business insight and the behavior of the customers.
Okay, let's move on and talk a little bit about the Gen Z. We know, I mean, we were taking some notes as well when we met, but we know that the Gen Zs, they prioritize experience over pretty much absolutely everything else. But they have this spending power, and there's evidence and data that backs up that they have much more spending power than the millennials. So how is the industry actually? How does the industry meet their expectations? Are we good enough at understanding what they want to do, or are we learning? Luke, I think I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay.
Well, I think we're adapting, and yes, indeed, I think when I see this at home, you know, normally my kids would get a present which are goods, and now they get presents in a mountain bike tour, doing great stuff with friends, etc. So it's all about experience. And I think, you know, in our data, we're seeing an enormous growth in small group tours and private tours, also what Douglas mentioned. And I think it makes sense, right? I mean, going to the Louvre or going to a museum or going to an attraction, it's nice. It's kind of, okay, I've been there, done that. But really getting the connection and really getting the insights and the kippenvel, we call it in the Dutch. It's with the goosebumps you get when you really get a connection with a guide, with somebody who tells you everything around and the stories around that. So I think, you know, it is increasing. I think it's also difficult. You know, the industry needs some time to get good guides, which is really, you know, something you can't do. You know, just, hey, now I'm a guide. You need to practice. And I think also with AI, we will get back to that later with, you know, the translation issues. But there still are, to give that personal feeling, I think there is an interesting momentum now where we can adapt that demand to the supply we have.
I like that you are gifting your children tours and activities presents. That's a way to keep the industry going. But what a great idea, and an experience is always a wonderful present. Sarah, your thoughts on this? How we keep delivering what the demands require?
Yeah. So. One of the most extraordinary things about being human is our adaptability and creativity, and that doesn't shine through in any greater place than in entrepreneurship. And so as these travelers and this younger generation of travelers seek different kinds of things, entrepreneurs are there to respond. And so we see consistently new experiences coming into our marketplace, and the things that Gen Z wants to do. And so that's one part of it. And then the second, I think, is for those operators who have been in business a longer time, I think part of it is also about discovery. So knowing where the Gen Z is going to discover and to find inspiration about not only destinations and what they want to do, and then the formats of media that they choose to do. So obviously video and vertical video is still one of the primary mechanisms by which younger people discover experiences.
Yeah, that's a good point. Martin, I want to come to you because I'm wondering what the Gen Zs are looking for in Switzerland. Do you know? And how do you, how do you fill those demands?
I think it is absolutely key that you somewhat cover the entire life cycle, that as a destination, as a country, we have enough opportunity for families, so that they already, as young children, start loving snow, start loving the nature, love to jump in a river or in a lake, and already get in touch with the destination. Then when they become teenagers, of course, it needs to be more actions. Then we're into the mountain bike, into the adventure sports, maybe again into skiing. And then when they move on in their life, that at every stage of life, we need to provide something, because they differ very much. And then there's so Gen Z for us is one particular segment of a whole lifespan. So we're not only looking at the Gen Z or all the oldest, we try to really cover the entire lifespan and make sure that we grasp them when they're babies and they stay with us until the very end.
That's very, very clever policy. I'm freestyling a little bit now because what I would like to know about is actually what have you seen sort of say over the last 5 years, for example, to become something that people really seek from Switzerland now that we have a destination on the panel as well. Is there anything that springs to mind or that you have some backup data on?
Well, maybe not so much data, but a sentiment. I mean, we are all consuming news at this moment in the last couple of months and maybe even years. So we are living in incredible turbulent times. And something what we as Switzerland always have tried to avoid is to outline our reliability, security, safety, all these hygiene factors. These are non-travel motives. You're not going somewhere because it's particularly sustainable or it's particularly reliable. But it seems that these elements become quite relevant. So we can actually here see and also see it in the data that reliability, no drama destination is something that's actually something people are interested in.
That is, of course, a very valid point, especially in the times that we live in at the moment. Nicholas, I want to come to you as well. Please, some thoughts on this particular group of travelers and us meeting demands. What are you guys seeing?
I think what we see with that group of travelers is really a need for personalization. I mean, there is no longer one size fits all for this kind of target, and travelers really want to feel like they are living an experience that is unique and that is designed for them. So personalization has always been super important, but is even more important, I think, with this group of travelers, I would say.
Okay, I think it leads us on. We're sort of touching on it already a little bit around experimental travel. What are the major shifts that you are seeing here, and really define in your own words experimental travel? I think we've all got slightly different explanations around it. Sarah, I'd like to go to you first on that, please, if I may.
So as Douglas pointed out, the most popular things are still the most popular. And we see that on our platform and on TripAdvisor and then throughout the entire marketplace. But what we do find is that the experiences that are more immersive, and by immersive I mean where you get your hands dirty, lessons, cooking classes, photography classes, and so on, fishing classes and charters, those are the ones that have much, much higher consumer ratings. So the average star rating for those kinds of experiences on Viator is 4.8 out of 5 versus 4.6 out of 5 for the rest of them. And I think the other area that we see a fairly big trend in terms of fast growth is in outdoor activities, again, something that Douglas showed. And our fastest growing destinations are, in fact, places like Tromsø in Norway or Banff in Canada, Colorado, Finland, places where people can experience the outdoors, and those activities also rate very, very highly.
Yeah, that definitely, we have got the data that backs that up. Luke, you will be seeing similar things, but maybe can add your voice to this as well.
Yeah, we see the similar things, especially smaller groups, longer booking windows that are really starting to prepare. Also interaction more in terms of okay, what can we expect, etc. And I think also the need of staying flexible. Plans can change. Also, what you said, in terms of what's happening now. So I think the real connection, even in a crowded Colosseum, is I think what people are looking for in general, and I think it's also our job to help them, and also to balance more this mass tourism into more balanced tourism, where I still think there are interesting moments where you can visit the Colosseum at a much better time and with much more, a really authentic feeling.
Well, it's interesting what you were saying. I mean, there's an educational aspect here as well, isn't there? We as an industry, as a sector, we really need to actually educate and remind the traveler, of what else is on offer rather than the most sort of popular destinations. Now, I did a chocolate course in Switzerland once. It was marvelous. So that's an experimental a bit of insight there. What's new? Again, I come back to this kind of, are there any new things that you are feeling that people are doing, or they're doing more of them, or doing them differently in your neck of the woods?
Well, in fact, in terms of experience, there's so much more coming up, but they are, and that is totally in line with a more balanced tourism. They are small entities, and this is something that's not being covered by the large entities, because they somehow feel fall through the net, because like you mentioned the chocolate tour, so I guess it was at a certain scale where you had enough people, but there's a small company where you can do a watch assembly. There's something like an alpine cheese making. These are small entities, and obviously we are looking for platforms where they can be covered, because obviously it is they may not have the digital availability and the whole pricing. So maybe this moves into the AI discussion. Then maybe this is a moment where, when the data is available, that they can actually be heard or be available on the market. So I think there's so much creativity coming up. There's so many micro companies coming up with wonderful experiences, but they are not really a Colosseum scale. So they're small and also not in the hotspot. Sometimes they're somewhere a little bit remote, which totally matches with our strategy of making sure we have a distribution of visitors all over the country, and not only in hotspots.
And I think that brings us right back to Sarah's point from earlier about there are certain smaller operators out there. They're delivering these bespoke, wonderful experiences, but they are not going to automate their entire setup, because it's simply not necessary, quite frankly. There's a certain thing that technology can help with, but the rest is just done as in human to human, person to person. I want your thoughts on this as well, Nicholas, please, if I may.
Yeah, I think as Sarah said, I mean, the most popular things are still the same and the most popular, but the way to experience them has to be unique and has to be personalized once again. So the whole challenge is to map the right way to experience that thing with the right profile of traveler. Like Douglas was mentioning, what is a 5-star tour? A 5-star tour for a Gen Z is not the same as a 5-star tour for a family. No. So how do you make sure that each single traveler is going to have the right experience provided to them?
Well, we were seeing from some of Douglas's details and slides as well that some companies obviously offer more than one type of tour, but I have often, when I have gone in to look at a particular type of tour, when you actually look into the 6 different offerings or the 20 different offerings, it ends up being pretty much the same. I think it's just from a consumer perspective, I think that's something that some of the platforms can just do a little bit better. They don't look like they're offering much variety, actually. It just looks like a different price. So we need to maybe be a little bit better at that sometimes. Sorry, personal little gripe of mine. Now, I think we might disagree a little bit on this one, because somebody said on the meeting that, the travelers are booking everything last minute, and then somebody said, I think it was Luke, or maybe not, booking everything last minute. But the point really we want to get across here is, how can we better as an industry, as a sector, meet this demand and maybe improve to some extent the accessibility. What else sort of needs to be done? And Luke, I think I'm going to go to you first on this one, if you don't mind.
Well, I think this is it's common sense that we need to work as an industry on this, right? For nobody, it's interesting to go like this through the Vatican Museum. So we need to educate each other. And we see a big shift in where it was a lot of online last-minute bookings. It went already, weeks or even months before people go that they book their experiences. And I think, we should adapt as an industry dynamic pricing, but also to educate people how it really is, right? If you now go in this Jubilee year to Rome, it's really too crowded. So I'm trying to build an in-the-line tour with my team, and they're not that enthusiastic because they have difficulties to market it because nobody's searching of, hey, I want to have a tour in the line. But man, you need to stand in line if you want to go to the Sixtine Chapel or to the St. Peter's Basilica for 3 or 4 hours, right? How can we kind of adapt to make that 4 hours at least a great 4 hours? And I think, that's something we need to discuss as an industry. And we need to solve these things as, when the problems happen, then we're all starting to think about, okay, how can we solve that? Also with dynamic pricing, right? I think there is really something in there. But if only one company does it and the whole industry doesn't, then it doesn't work, right? Then people still start to just buy last minute a ticket where it might be, otherwise sold out.
Thanks, Luke. Sarah, your thoughts on this? There might be some agreement after all.
We agree on a lot of things. I'll talk a bit about the booking window because that's one of the things that both Douglas and Luke have talked about. And so on average, we do see the booking window growing. But what's interesting is it's an average. And so it really depends on the kind of activity that people are doing and the device on which they're booking. So on mobile devices, for wine tours, food tours, a historic tour of a neighborhood, we actually see people booking on the day of more frequently than we have ever in the past. And, usually in destination, people would be booking 2 or 3 days ahead, but now they're waiting until the absolute last minute. By the same token, those activities that most people know that the Vatican is going to sell out. And so we find that people are booking those way in advance, much higher booking, longer booking windows. And those people are typically booking on desktop. So they're in that sort of deep planning phase and booking phase where it's a lot easier to book on desktop than mobile.
Nicholas, sorry, Martin, did you want to come in first?
Yeah, I would like to, I really hope we as an industry do better and can have better concepts. And I'm talking to ourselves as service providers and service or experience producers, than to somehow make the line more entertaining than to make it shorter, obviously. So I think it is absolutely key to us to go into guidance, to go into steering as well, to not just create a demand for a destination and then see if they are coming in last minute or if they are standing in line or not. There's so much more we can do. We particularly see that obviously in Switzerland summer is very popular and winter is very popular, but we have many more other months which we are now opening. So I think this, be it a Colosseum or a line, or be it an entire country, or be it an entire seasonality, I think spreading the customer demand, spreading it more evenly over the year is absolutely key. So for example, we are now doing everything possible to put autumn into the picture, because Switzerland is known as a winter destination, as a summer destination, but autumn is still key, and autumn is wonderful. So basically we're spending all our marketing dollar on autumn, and that already makes sure that we're opening more possibilities for service providers which have not a sufficient occupancy. We can work with pricing. They're not really standing with each other's feet. The lines are shorter. So I think there's a lot we can do than just trying to manage the lines, but actually to make sure that we can direct the customers to other destinations and to other timings.
I think that whole conversation around seasonality, and maybe many in the audience can pick this up and are doing it and getting some ideas from this. But I think the spreading the customers, as it were, the travelers over the year, it's a sort of a no-brainer, because there will be a part of the audience that does not need to go during the children's holiday time in the winter and the summer period. Some of us are happily past that now, with mine being grown up, because boy, oh boy, talk about pricing and pricey. Nicholas, I want to get you back in here as well, just some thoughts from you.
I think in terms of booking window, we see pretty much the same as what Sarah was saying. We really have two peaks, one which is in the last week before the activity date, and another one which is more like 45 to 60 days before. And I think the challenge is to help our customers inform their travelers that this activity might get sold out, that you need to book now. And sometimes also use data and AI to offload some destinations and maybe provide another destination to the traveler, because they are going to live pretty much the same experience. We saw the 0.00 something % of destinations that had half of the reviews in Douglas' presentation. I mean, there is a huge opportunity as well to tell the customers, okay, maybe you're not going to see the Colosseum for that vacation, but you can have a great experience going somewhere else. So that's also, if we truly consider that experiences are at the core of travel, that's also something that we can provide to the travelers as an industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we have got a couple of minutes left, and I know we've got a roaming mic somewhere. At least I think we have. Can somebody show me where we have a mic somewhere? Okay, let's see if there are any questions from the floor. I have got a couple of more questions, and we have a mic coming here. Anybody would like to ask a question of the panel? Then now is your... Then now is your chance. Don't be too shy. I have a quick little... Oh, is there somebody here? Did somebody put a hand up? I can't see for the lights. I'm trying. Yes, over there. Who have we got? Please, sir, your name, and let's have your question, please.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yes? Am I
Hi.
audible? All right. My question is for Sarah. Sarah, we run tours in India, and we kind of do immersive community-based experiences, right? And I know that you mentioned about demand and supply, and we've been trying to kind of talk about it, and you said that was also your personal rouse against, the OTA platforms. In your real estate, do you ever see an opportunity for community-based immersive experiences that talk about, that kind of are not your, like say in India where you go to Delhi, Agra and Jaipur, which is your holy grail of travel. Do you ever see community-based experiences ever coming up in your algorithm at one point in time, or have some real estate space in a thing like Viator?
Thank you very much. That's a great question.
Thanks for the question. We do have community-based activities on our platform, but one of the things that you saw in Douglas's slide is that we, as a platform, don't do a fantastic job of surfacing those when consumers are looking for them. And one of the things that we're trying to do and invest in at Viator is what we call product matching, which is really another word for personalization, if you like. And we have very rudimentary, coarse ways that people can find this, and we basically have filters. And those filters don't even cover things like the category or the type of experiences that you're talking about. So over the course of the last year and this year, we're investing fairly heavily using AI to actually do that, and to try to match traveller interests with the kinds of things they're looking for that are much more granular than just sightseeing tour or food tour or something like that. But we have a long way to go, we recognise that. But we want to serve the community, and especially serve the more independent and smaller operators who have more difficulty in getting demand for their products and getting international people in particular to find them.
Thank you, Sarah. I don't know if anybody else on the panel want to chime in on this, but with that in mind, yesterday we ran the diversity and inclusion track here at ITB Berlin, and we actually touched on that very topic quite a lot. And there are a number of companies, of course, out there that are already very much delivering in this particular space. There's particularly a company I would like to point out called Planet Abled. You can look them up, and along them are others as well that actually do a very, very good job at specifically this. So thank you to the gentleman for that question. question. I think it's a good thing for all of us to bear in mind and to be mindful of. With that, we are pretty much out of time, so I thank Martin, Nicholas, Sarah, and Luke. Please give them a warm hand. Thank you very, very, very much.